psychological part. What did you learn from it? Did you become a stronger person? It's interesting. I would always ask people, I've traveled, I give classes, especially young people, but really all people. Tell me the 3 most important things in your life that you're ready to fight for. 3 months ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago, most people answered the following, and I kid you not, and I'm sure you won't be surprised. It was probably romantic, sexuality, relationships, love. Second was sports. Third was money. If we go, let's say, the top 5, entertainment, all things that are right now, in many ways, compromised. You ask people now that question, same question. You know the answer? Who do I love? What people are in my life? What is true security? What are my values? What gives us inner strength? How do I survive this? Because what happens is, and it was a great blessing, prosperity, affluence, spoils us. And that was a blessing. It spoiled us. When you can press a button and get Amazon Prime by your door in an hour, you expect, we thought we were invincible, invulnerable. Of course we knew we're not, but we could live that way. We were lulled in almost into a hypnotic state of complete comfort, and it was only getting better. The party was never going to end. And I would believe that a big part of the shock is the contrast. We're not living in the Middle Ages, people are saying. We have all the technology in the world, medical miracles, longevity, age, life expectancy, children being born healthy. I mean, so many different advances. And suddenly we're all humbled by a microbe that's invisible to the eye. No one expected it. I remember in February when we started hearing about it, that's not coming here. It's something from China, it's from Asia. But the fact is, suddenly, yes, all that we thought was permanent, we realize this material world is not very permanent. It's there, and we want to have a connection with it, but it's all temporary, and you cannot build security on things that are temporal, things that are impermanent. So now the question is, so what do you build security on? So since we're coming from Baomer, which was yesterday, and it continues, its energy continues till today, we can find tremendous, remarkable insights from events that happened almost 2,000 years ago. And I will sum some of them up right here and then. Remember, life and its challenges didn't begin in the year 2020. People have been challenged from the beginning of time. The challenges just were different. The props are different. You think if you met somebody from the first millennium or the second millennium, they were sitting right now at your dining room table, and you said to them, what is important to you? And they share with you their joys and their sorrows. You think it would be a lot different than ours? You think people cried when people died then, and they laughed when children were born, and they celebrated. And life, the fundamentals of life were the same. What changed? Not the human being changed. The stage changed, the environment changed. We have advances today that, yes, are miraculous compared to back then, but the human being didn't change. The same needs, we have the needs for love, for attachments, for connections, for social life, for personal life. We need for a spiritual life. We need to survive. And we have, as I said, our ups and downs. But what happens is often, we separate, we become identified by the props. The question I often ask people is this: tell me, who are you? What makes you tick? And their answer usually is, they give you their business card. And I always point out, I said, one second, your business card is what you do. That's not who you are. And some people are a little puzzled by that, and some answer something really sad to hear. They say, you know, Rabbi Jacobson, who I am has become defined by what I do. My job defines my identity. Think about that. Who you are should define what you do. And what you do is defining who you are. That means it's not being generated from within. Outside circumstances are affecting you. Starting from young age, even our parents and others. The whole point of life is to be yourself. to find your voice, to find your unique, indispensable contribution. So that's a critical first lesson that we will learn from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Lag Baomer. What is real? What is truly real? A few months ago, real was the props. How many gadgets you had, how many cars you owned, how many homes, how many comforts. They're superficial. You know why? Because when things are going well, we don't dig deeper. It's a sad reality, but a fact is that most people wake up only after there's trauma, pain, loss, or death. Who wakes up when things are going well? I can tell that to you from firsthand experience. How many people I speak to, and they say, not now, I'm very busy, I'm building a new business, we're buying a new home, we're traveling. Oh, beautiful, God bless you. What about your soul? I don't have time right now. I can tell you, people now are calling me off the hook. And I say calling, not just calling, I'm talking about through text, through email, through all the technologies. We are right here. So, and what are they saying? Here's a man that works in a hedge fund in finance. He says, you know what you always told me is suddenly resonating very truly in my heart and soul. Told me that money at the end of the day, as much as you have, it's something that's temporary. It comes and goes. Only your soul, only your spiritual values, your service, how much you give to the world, that remains forever. He says, you know, all that is gone. My company is closed. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm home now, my immediate family. And all I have is to look inward. And I didn't really work on it much. So I'm trying to catch up. This is a common sentiment. Some people don't even go there. They're so desperate. What was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's life like? And we'll talk some more details in a moment. I'm working my way from here back to there, and we're going to learn lessons. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed away yesterday, 1,860 years ago. Like Baomer. We celebrate it because he asked specifically, this should be a day not of mourning, but of joy and celebration. He asked his students. It was a small group of 7 students of his. It's documented in the sacred book called the Zohar, the Holy Zohar. This is a book authored by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He actually dictated, and his student, Rabbi Abba, wrote it down. And he wrote down the events that happened the last day of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's life, the secrets that he revealed, the unbelievable, mystical, and esoteric mysteries of existence he revealed that day. And he said, why? Because my soul is soon to depart this world, so I will reveal for you secrets that have never been revealed before. This is like Baomer. And that's where he said, do not be sad. I'm going back to be connected to my source. He used the word. With one bind, with one tie, with one bond, I will bind myself to my creator. B'chat katira is katarna. And I ask you explicitly, please celebrate. The only man in history who we celebrate his day of passing to such an extent. We know when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, the 7th of Adar. And we mark it, but nothing close to Lag Baomer. Lag Baomer, generations, even in the most difficult times, people made pilgrimages to Miran, is the resting place of the Rashbi. All over the world, there have been celebrations, parades, outings, especially with children. And it's only grown. Only grown. Over 500,000 people would make a pilgrimage to Miran. We'll talk about this year soon. His request was fulfilled. Why is he different than everyone else? Why did he make that request? Because Rashbi represented, even among all the sages, and the great sages, they were students of Rabbi Akiva, who was the greatest sage of them all. The entire Talmud follows Rabbi Akiva. Of all of them, the students and their colleagues and his teachers all recognized there was something unique about the soul of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. What was unique about it, that he was a unifier. He united people. He united different parts of the Torah, the body of Torah and the soul of Torah. He was a unifying force. And that's why you see Sfardim, Ashkenazim, Chasidim, non-Chasidim. Everybody recognizes like Baomer. That's not so common. Jews don't agree about anything. They have different rabbis and different teachers and different sages. When it comes to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, there's a certain unifying energy, certain synergy, because that's what he represented. And that gives strength. That's one of the first and most powerful things that we need to know in a time of upheaval like now, that not all is lost. The material world is just a shell. These are words now from the Zohar itself, from the words of Rabbi Simon Jacobson. It's only a shell. But this shell is very seductive. It holds us tight in its tentacles. It makes us think it's real. Do you remember how people would fight over, I come from New York, so Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Or I'm sure there are other rivalries in sports and different sports. It was like life and death. Now there's no baseball season. And you start asking yourself, was it so important? Yes, in a comfortable life where there's nothing else to fight about, might as well fight about sports. But it's not real. I remember hearing from Mark McGwire, the home run king of the St. Louis Cardinals, after 9/11. So we were both in the studio on NBC, MSNBC, right after. There was a day of prayer a few days afterwards. And he asked me, I asked him actually, I said, so when is the baseball season going to resume? It never was stopped, even during World War II. And of all people, that hunk, you know what he told me? With his muscles bulging. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way, but he understood immediately. He says, baseball is a game. This is real life now. We're dealing with real life 9/11. It's a game. I remember people comparing it. Oh, it's exactly that, the plane going into the World Trade Center. It looks exactly like a movie I once saw. We were comparing reality to fiction. So first reminder is the material world is a very negligible place. It's a very vulnerable place. It's necessary because God put it here, but it's a shell. And until now, it wasn't cracked, so we were comfortable. We took it for granted. Then there's a crack in the shell. So you can focus on the egg and the crack and say, hey, cracks. They're opening up my wounds. They're exposing us. We're vulnerable. Or you could say a crack of an egg, you know what it does? The chick is about to come out, the birthing of a new life. So the first lesson we learn is that upheaval should be seen in context. Big theme of the Rashbi, how he survived during his difficult times. And yes, the parallels are uncanny. He was in a very difficult time. Just a few years after the destruction of the Second Temple, the Romans were tyrants. They were literally abusing and desecrating the Jewish people in every possible way. Rashbi, who was defiant and said, no, we will study Torah, even though there was a decree not to, was condemned to death. So he went into hiding, into quarantine, into a cave with his son, Rabbi Lazar. So those were very terrifying times. In many ways, much worse than today. I'm not comparing tragedies. How did he survive it all? He didn't sit in the cave trembling and waiting for it all to end. He began to study and pray, and the deepest learnings of Torah and secrets of Torah, that's what he occupied himself. He found transcendence because he recognized, yes, the material world, we want it to be a peaceful place, but it's not the beginning and end of existence. We have a soul, and he cultivated that soul in the most profound way. 12 years. So he used quarantine as an opportunity to dig deeper, realizing, okay, God doesn't want me to be out there in the public now. Doesn't want me to be teaching and studying with my teachers and teaching my students and studying with my colleagues. He wants me to be here alone. So I will dig deeper, and that's exactly what he did. So the first lesson is the material world. As much as we worshipped it and we thought, this is it, to realize the material world is a shell. It's the outer surface, it's the tip of the iceberg. And beneath the surface lie layers and layers of energy. Now, if you think about it, even science will tell you that. The outer surface, we know beneath that there are molecules, elements, and beneath that molecules, and beneath that atoms, and beneath that subatomic particles. One more step, says Rabbi Simon Jacobson, spiritual particles. And our job is to release them, to free them. That's how he spent that time. And that's how we have to spend our time. Whatever the amount of time it will be, we don't know. and realize the cracks in the universe are cracks in an outer shell. Yes, unfortunately, it brought grief, loss, and death, not minimizing that. But were it not for that, you can say this is a tremendous wake-up call, an unprecedented spiritual awakening, to recognize that the material world that we thought was it, the center of everything, has been disrupted. And you know what? And we didn't disappear. Our calendar, our schedules, our plans, they have been upended. We're upended, at least for now. And we are here. Those that God took, he took. But the rest of us are here. And what are we going to do with this time? We're going to recognize, that's what we learned from Rashbi, what's ticking beneath the surface. Rashbi revealed what was beneath the surface. And when you go beneath the surface, you have a whole other narrative. It's not the here and now. Everything, there's a bird's eye view, there's a picture. So when we go through any setback or difficulty, it's a piece of a whole story. The story is not over. The film is not over. It's one frame. You have to see it through.